Welcome, everyone. This is Getting Started with Internships. My name is Brian. I am the KIPP Forward counselor. Specifically, I'm supporting students with career pathways, right? So, in large part, it is for both folks pursuing short-term and long-term careers, right? So, you might be someone who is in maybe community college, two-year, four-year, public, private school, etc., and you're looking for internships. This is the video to watch. So, let's get started. So today's agenda is really simple. We're covering four steps. What are internships? Expectations about internships, minimum requirements, and of course, getting started, and some resources as well to make sure you leave off on the right foot. Let's make sure we all understand what an internship is. There's a lot of different definitions out there. The one that we're working with today is short-term work experiences, right? And they're offered by employers or other organizations, typically nonprofits. Usually they're aimed at students to gain entry-level positions in a job or field. Sometimes those jobs or field or opportunities are within those organizations and by those employers themselves, right? So keep that in mind. Internships will generally uh, cover a particular project or involve making or completing a particular project, and they are both a working and learning experience, right? So you will be in a work environment, learning and picking up the skills that other workers who are there full time, who are not interns, um, who already work independently, they'll be teaching you how to do the job as well, right? So some of their rules. These, as I mentioned already, can lead to a full-time job, right? Straight out of high school or straight out of college, I should say. And and that's very common for certain companies. For example, the um, firm, I should say, EY tends to do that for their internships over the summer, partly because they train you on what to do exactly for the job that you'll be having if you were to apply after college, right? So that's how they scout talent, they build it up, and then they get to reap the benefits as well. And you, as the intern, you get to put that on your resume. You get to use it as part of the real life work experience that you have, right? And add it to your academic and professional um, experiences, right? So the last part about internships that you should know is that they may or may not be compensated, right? And so some of them will get paid, will pay you to do the work. Others, you are volunteering your time to for the benefit of gaining that work experience, right? Or real work experience in an environment, right? In a work environment, uh, to learn a skill set, to expand your network, right? There's a lot of different benefits to that. But it can make it difficult to participate if you are someone who needs support, right? During the summer, or who, you provide for yourself, or even in some of our cases as first generation college students, we provide for our families while we're also going to school, right? So we work a part-time or full-time job, 40 hours plus your regular work from school, right? So that can make it really hard. Still, there's a lot of considerations and a lot of support that can help you both guide you to the paid experiences a little bit better, right? And consider what is worth volunteering for more closely, right? Like being able to specify that part. So what can you expect from an internship, right? So they're widely available, but you should really think about them as your first stop at exploring a career option, right? In quote unquote the real world. So what you can expect in a internship is for you to have someone, a point person, as a mentor, an expert who's going to be supervising your work, and they should be able to both explain what they do and tell you what they're gonna expect you to do in your experience, right? They will be your point person from day to day as you move from project to project. They should also be able to break down a bigger project into smaller tasks for you. So it's very structured. You can expect organization and fluidity in the work, right, whenever it's needed. Some of them will ask you on the requirements to be quick on your feet, and that's okay. That is part of a work environment. But for interns, it's if you can do that, great already. But if you've not, this is also a great place to practice that skill set. The next expectation is about education, right? You may apply for a internship to work at a particular company or nonprofit, but you may be placed in one department and then later rotated to different roles in that department or even among different departments. The Metro uh, LA, for example, here, like the ones who control the Metro rail lines, that's how their internship works. They make sure that you have options to move from various different positions after a certain amount of time. You get a bigger understanding of how the entire system works, their entire role, and you get to balance, what it is you wanted between all the different roles and what it is you are qualified to do now, right? So that's a great part when they're so organized. You get to have that variety of experience that you wouldn't really typically have working for anywhere else, right? Like here, I'll take the Metro example again and just say that you work on transportation, you work on schedules, you work on design, marketing, promotion, public appearances, even sometimes. So all of those are great experiences to have in your pocket. Lastly, again, experience. I've mentioned that before. It's really the keystone and why you would even consider taking a job, um, because this is work, right? Without pay, right? But typically, that's how, some folks consider that an opportunity that they are able to take on, and others, we have to figure out a different way, right? And there are ways. I'll get to those in a bit, but you will be adding valuable experience to your resume and to your future employment because these may also be people, for example, your supervisor who can write a letter of recommendation, a letter of support for an experience that you may have even later on, related or unrelated to your next steps, right? So, or even to just a future role or job at the same company or at the same or nonprofit organization. So what are the minimum requirements? These are some common requirements for internships, right? Um, First, you typically do have to be a student at an accredited college or university. That means that the school has to be legit. And while many schools brag that they are legit, many are, not all of them. So make sure typically around here it's WASC, typically WASC accredited institutions is what we're looking for. Or there's another one for private colleges, not-for-profit private colleges, I should say. And so this one, a student, doesn't matter if you're at a community college, doesn't matter if you're a transfer student, doesn't matter if you dropped out and then came back, right? So long as you're a current student, typically in undergraduate school, but there are some internships for graduates as well, you're good. Um, You may want to check if they're available for in-state or out-of-state because location is important, but that's number three. Number two is you should be pursuing a career goal. And typically for this, you may be eligible for if you're pursuing a certificate program at a 2-year school, but more often than not, they are looking for folks doing a associate's degree at least, and if not, certainly specifically a bachelor's degree. They may also require you to have a bachelor's degree, or I should say, pursue a bachelor's degree in a particular field if you are looking for specific internship opportunities, for example, in STEM, right, in science, technology, engineering, or math, or maybe sociology, right, or like education, you might be looking at a child development program, right, a bachelor's degree program. So those will overall are good to know where you qualify, but if you're applying to a general one, that you might have more flexibility in your area of study, right? So it's important to ask those questions up front. They're generally really open and responsive when you have questions, especially when you do it um, with ample time and preparation, right? So the third one, reliable transportation. If you apply to an internship in Washington, D.C., you will probably be expected to be in Washington, D.C., right? So will it be paid? Will you have housing? All those are important details. For example, KIPP offers a federal policy program in DC, and we cover a lot of those costs, right? And we tell you that we will. We also help you apply to some of those internship positions within the government. So it's a great opportunity for folks, and especially, these internships, in particular ours, I should say, are open to non residents and not slash undocumented students in particular, right? So we're able to do that because it's KIPP, but some others may not. And so you might want to, just inquire, right? How you might be able to, if you have a setup or a current work situation here, how are you going to manage that? Or if you have to, you know, account for that in your planning of your day-to-day activities, you have to go to class and go to your work site, then, or your internship site, then you might have to, you know, get a car sooner than later, right? So it comes back to, do you have a license? Are you insured? Is there someone, nowadays we have Uber and Lyft. Can you cover the cost of that Uber and Lyft, once or twice a week to and from the school site to the work site? All important questions to ask, but you should have reliable transportation. Nobody's going to check, but they will expect you to have it. Um, Number four is really, you should have a completed resume and cover letter, right? And you might have one from high school, but this will not typically be sufficient. And so what they're looking for is more at a college student level, if not already professional level resume. And so typically, you know, high school doesn't cut it. And so these are items that, of course, here at KIPP we can help you with. It's a couple of other resources that might be helpful for you as well. But a thorough resume, well written and specific to the internship opportunity is vital in making sure you have a successful application. And lastly, as I mentioned, the application. There's typically an application that asks you basic information, and they will also um, give you the opportunity to explain why it is you want a little bit about the role, right? Why do you want this role? Why should they choose you? What's your passion? What's your connection? All of those details, I think, can work in conjunction with four. As you're working on four, you can work on five as well. We also offer mock interviews, support. There's a couple of programs like WISCO that's newly launched from our KIPP national program, so you can take advantage of that. There's a lot of resources. I will warn you that the ones with the stars are typically the longest to accomplish or to meet the requirements because they depend on particular cycles or deadlines. For example, if you're thinking of doing an internship but aren't a student, then it takes you a while, right, to become a student and then hopefully still be able to apply um, and and join that program, right? Or transportation, right? It's a process. You have to have a driver's license first, right, which requires a learning permit, which requires you practicing, right, to then be able to have reliable transportation. Or if you use public transportation, right, you do have to dedicate some time to figure out how often, how far in advance do I have to leave my home or my school to be able to get to the work site on time, and also arrange your class schedule so that there is no conflict, right? All of, as I mentioned, the resume, etc., are also important, and of course, you're supporting yourself in number five also with interviews, right? Like, so preparing for those takes time, but generally, the more you do these activities, these processes, the easier they get. So I know you can do it. Let's see what else. Who typically offers an internship? Did you see some of the areas listed here? But the last one here on the right lower side I want to mention is that an internship is offered by so many people, I can't list them all, right? Organizations in business, engineering, science, research, IT, computer science, multimedia arts, uh, and more, right? And that's the beauty about an internship, is that you can just find all these opportunities. One of the popular ones here the LA area, right, is the Getting Merrill Undergraduate Research. And so they pair up with nonprofit organizations, and you get to work in arts programming, arts education, and then curation as well, right? So these art nonprofits are, work locally with their communities, and so you would be expected to be able to get there, right? And so it's a valuable experience. It's a very unique experience. That particular one is paid, right? So there's a stipend of some kind, right? For the hours worked. But again, you will have to research a little bit, right? To figure out which one is the right approach for you. Hmm. After all of this, how do I get started, right? That's what you probably want to know at this time. And the first question, and I should say the first response I want to give you is really to remind you that we're here to support you at KIPP, right? That hasn't changed since you were in middle school. So I hope you caught on. But it's really important for us to understand what you want and to help you flush out some of those ideas that are first up here onto paper so that they make sense and we can actually support you in the search. We do have an ongoing list of a database of internships and opportunities that you might find helpful. And some of us, have already had internship opportunities as we were students ourselves. So you have the benefit of experience from us, from the collection of the various students we've worked with over the years, of course, and what they've experienced in pursuing their internships. And as professionals, we want you to also develop that way, and we're eager to help mentor you. So, number one, getting into our list is really finding an internship. So, there's a couple of research options. If you simply type in internship, you will find internships. They might not all be what you want, but I think that's why we have those conversations together to figure out what type of experience are you looking for? Are you able to volunteer so many hours to it, right? There is a way people do this often, but you have to be conscious and intentional about what it is you're pursuing and what the trade-offs are, right? So that's where your motivation really comes into play. And because again, these are not necessarily paid opportunities, right? They are for experience. Number two, make a plan. And the reason we want to plan is because if you're going to spend time doing work that's not going to be compensated, then you want to make it worth your time, right? And if you're going to make it worth your time, then you want to be intentional about that bigger goal that you have, and work backwards, right? If you want to work in an architectural firm, right, then you're going to start looking for uh, opportunities now in the undergraduate level where you can practice these skills, an experience that allows you to compete in various design phases if that's the niche you're looking for. But again, there are so many fields available, you will find something for you. And if you're not yet comfortable figuring out what it is, there are also general internships, right? The important part here is that you make a plan to explore and to make sure you complete all those deadlines, and to really reflect, right? Like what you want out of the experience both before you apply and then once you apply afterward, right? And you go through the experience, hopefully. You can take a look for yourself and say, well, it is what I thought it was. It is not what I thought it was. What should my next opportunity, how should my next opportunity build off of this one? And that brings us to number three, that I think the biggest mistake people make is like they see something as a freshman and then they don't actually apply to it until they're a sophomore when the application is maybe eligible for sophomores only, or it's only available for sophomores. Um, they wait around to figure it out. But let me tell you, these questions, they don't change from year to year, right? So if you see something for junior year that you liked as a sophomore, look through the application, pretend like you're going to apply, give it a good look over and start practicing. You're going to have a whole year ahead of you, if not more, if you plan for these types of opportunities. And once you get there, you want to make sure you apply to more than one, right? So it's helpful that you're looking at, if you can, looking ahead a couple of months, or if you're in summer, then you're looking at winter. If you're in winter, you're looking at summer or spring, right? Trying to jump ahead on these opportunities. They give you a large window, typically about a month or two to apply, for especially for large programs. I'm thinking about the UCLA Public Health Scholars Program, right? Uh, some of you may not be familiar with public health, but are interested in the medical field, so you might explore that, see what the relationship is, right? But don't just rely on applying to one, apply to more than one, because at the end of the day, you want to have options to choose, right? Some of them have better benefits, I guess I should say. Some of them pay you, right? Some of them give you access to individuals who may or may not be easily to find otherwise. Professors, public speakers, special guest speakers, right, at forums. Um, there was one for the Latino Film Festival a couple of months ago that was really intriguing, right? Maybe they had up and coming Latino stars, right? Or maybe directors, right, that have already had this experience and are eager to share some of that with you and inspire you, right? Opportunities are available year round, but again, you have to keep in mind that it may take a long time for you to apply, and it may take a long time for them to get back to you. So in the meantime, don't just sit down and wait for it. Keep active, move out there, see what's out there, put yourself out there, and continue getting as many opportunities as possible, right? So congratulations if you made it this far. You've done a great job paying attention and keeping up with what we've been sharing today. These are a list of websites that I think are very helpful for you to get started in understanding and finding internships that appeal to you, right? And so um, by far the most important one I think is LinkedIn, because you're going to use that your entire professional career. You are going to want to create this professional social networking site profile for yourself, because it gives you a lot of both jobs and internships. The next one, I think that's a good highlight. It's Handshake, and typically schools will use that as their platform, right? It's another platform, another website for you to get contacted directly by employers for opportunities that are both direct employment as well as short-term employment. The last one I think that's really great is actually your career center. You should visit your career center on campus, no matter what. No matter what field you're in, no matter what type of internship you're looking for, long-term, short-term, paid, not paid, they will know what's up, because local organizations and even large foundations will typically outreach to colleges and universities to make sure that their programs get applicants, right? Um, you also have the benefit of the Career Center seeing multiple people apply to the same opportunity, and so they kind of know what works, because they also want to see, they do a good job at recording the successes and the not so great successes, right? So they learn lessons, and you want to know those lessons so that you can make your application the best one. Lastly, if there are organizations in your local area that you've had an interest, don't hesitate to sort of make your own internship as well, right? Especially if, you can manage not being paid, right? Maybe it's a longer term commitment. Maybe it's a semester commitment at working at a particular site, just to understand. And even some of the colleges even let you, if there isn't an internship available, they'll often have funds for you to apply so that you get paid while through the university or college, even though you're not getting paid through the organization that you're doing the work for, right? But it's a partnership between all three of you. So it's a win-win for everybody. And so I just wanted to share again my contact information. Here's my email, my phone number. You can call or text me. And at the end of the day, we will just want to make sure that you are equipped and feel supported in this entire application process, wherever you may start, right? For your internships. And most of all, we're eager to see where you're going to go, right? What will you explore? Take this as an opportunity to engage with something unknown, something familiar, or entirely reject what you thought you were going to do. That's okay too. I think that's why we want you to be involved. It's easy for us to tell you this will be good, or this particular internship will be great, um, until you experience it yourself, right? And then you can make your own opinions about what you want. But if you're indecisive or not sure about what you want to do, jump in uh, into the deep end first, and then we'll have a conversation about it. I'm happy to talk to you through the entire process so you feel supported. Once again, thank you and have a wonderful rest of your day.